So in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what a better butter burner is, and I'm going to teach you how to become a better butter burner in order for you to stay shredded effortlessly. No muscle, no problem, right? Of course, the more muscle you have, the more lean you are. So the more muscle you have, the more metabolic you are, the more food you require in order to keep that muscle. You guys have got to see it in a way that the more muscle you have, the lower body fat you are. The more muscle you have, it's so much easier to maintain a lean physique as well. As you can see on this picture, this was me at 65 kilos and this is me at 69.5. Not only have I managed to add muscle to my frame, but that has also, as a result, made my body fat decrease. You can tell just from looking at the two pictures that my body fat is a lot lower now in comparison to 5 years ago when I had this physique at 65 kilos. So the more muscle you have, the more you can get away with errors in your diet, right? Let's just say, for example, you're 100 kilos and you added 2 kilos of muscle to your frame in a year while you were eating at maintenance. So maintenance means your weight doesn't move at all. So you're going to stay at 100 kilos for a whole year straight. But in that 1 year, you're going to have added 2 kilos of muscle to your frame because you were progressive overloading in the gym. So your weight stayed exactly the same at 100 kilos, but you've added 2 kilos of muscle to your frame. So what has to have came off your frame? Of course, body fat percentage. So as you can see again from this picture, I was 65 kilos here with way less muscle on my frame, and I'm lighter than I am now, but I had more body fat then. And that's because I've added 10 kilos of muscle to my frame since when I first started lifting weights. So you guys have got to see it like that. You've got to see it as the more muscle you have, the more lean you are. So lifting weights will definitely help you stay lean all year round. However, this next method is what this whole video is about anyway. So what about if you don't lift weights? What about if you're just a cardio athlete that doesn't lift weights whatsoever? You don't put on any muscle. So if you don't like lifting weights, then to stay lean all year round, all you have to do is year-round cardio. So some types of cardio are better than others. What a lot of people do is they neglect cardio until it's their time to cut. And then when they start cutting, they're not a very good better butter burner because they spent half the year not doing cardio, right? So when you first start doing cardio, because you've not done it for so long, you're going to be really unfit, which is going to make exercising really difficult. It's going to make it hard for you to burn calories. So we have different types of cardio that can help us burn fat all year round, and some cardio is better than other types of cardio. So we have light, medium, and then high intensity cardio. Light intensity is easy, so you should be able to have, say if you were on the phone to me, for example, you should be able to hold a conversation on the phone without having to breathe too much if you're doing light intensity cardio. Medium intensity is slightly more intense, so shadow boxing with a controlled pace, a light jog, swimming laps, like doing laps in the swimming pool very lightly, not going as hard as you can, and then some sort of dancing, aerobic exercise is also an intense, medium intensity type of cardio. However, high intensity cardio is stuff like battle ropes as hard as you can, when you're doing the battle ropes that you see on all of these cool motivational videos. Assault bike as hard as you can, sprint training, or really heavy pad rounds or very heavy hitting the heavy bag rounds. The more light intensity cardio you do, the slower you burn calories. However, the less your appetite gets raised. The more high intensity cardio, the faster you burn calories. You won't be able to do it for as much time because it's high intensity, but the more your appetite gets raised. So that's the difference between light intensity cardio versus heavy, high intensity cardio. So what exactly is a better butter burner? A better butter burner is how efficient you are at burning calories on a specific exercise. For example, this fella right here, Eliud Kipchoge. Okay, correct me in the comments how you actually say that. Give it the abbreviations with the dashes so I actually know how to say it. But basically, this guy is the best marathon runner in the world, right? And look at him here. He has zero muscle on his frame. So he hasn't got the help of lifting weights to help him keep the low body fat percentage he does, because although he's got zero muscle on his frame, as you can see, he's probably single digit body fat. So just think about what his maintenance calorie is, right? He's a marathon runner. So marathon runners, most elite marathon runners run 6 to 7 times a week. Sometimes they even train twice a day. So think about it like this. He is allowed to eat so much more extra calories in comparison to you. So his calorie bank is about 5k calories. Your calorie bank is about 2k calories. This geezer right here, he can probably eat 2 massive portions of McDonald's and KFC and he won't gain weight. However, you, the couch potato who doesn't do any cardio whatsoever, you're going to have to stick to skimpy calories, like 2,000 calories, which is what women have if they exercise. So if you're a man that's bigger than most women, which most of you guys are, and you're doing zero cardio, you've got the same maintenance amount of calories as a woman who walks on a treadmill 3 times a week. So you're going to be having to like really skimp on your calories compared to the marathon runner. So most marathon runners really struggle to eat enough, and that's because they burn so much calories every single day. So you can imagine they're allowed to get away with way more shit in comparison to you. They can fall off their diet a lot more often compared to you. Of course, they're professional athletes and it's different. They probably follow a strict plan. But the principle that I'm trying to say is the more of a better butter burner you are at a certain exercise, the more you can get away with, the less restrictive your diet has to be. So how do we become the best butter burner we can be? Progressive overload. Just like weight training, you know, when you go to the gym and you lift more than you did last time, it's the same thing with cardio, right? So let's just say you start off as a couch potato. Maybe you've just had a car accident and you're crippled from the legs down and you can't move, but you're slowly recovering. So you started off as a couch potato, you weren't moving at all, you've became really unfit because you're not doing cardio, right? So let's just pretend that your maintenance is about 2,000 calories. When you first start doing cardio, let's just say you start running, for example, you can barely run a mile. When you run the mile, you burn about 100 calories, but because you're not used to doing the exercises all the time, you're crippled for a whole week. So it's going to take you until next week again for you to feel good enough to go for a run, okay? So next week, you run 1.5 miles, 150 calories. So it's gone from 100 calories to 150 calories, and that was next week. So you've done this now a few times, and maybe you're on 2 miles, and you're more fit now. So you can now run 2 miles twice a week because your body's got more used to burning calories by running. You've become a better butter burner already. So you're now burning 200 calories per run, but instead of only being able to run once a week, you can now do it twice a week. So instead of burning 100 calories like when you first started, you're now burning 4 times as much. You're burning 400 calories a week. And if you keep on progressive overloading in your cardio, before you know it, you can run 10 miles 3 times a week. And that's 3,000 calories extra a week. That's like having an extra 6 Big Macs every single week that you're allowed to eat. So you can imagine how much easier becoming a better butter burner makes it for you guys to eat in a calorie deficit. If you're burning a lot more calories, your calorie bank is so high, it's going to be hard for you to get in debt with eating too much. If you eat too much, you're going to gain weight compared to what your maintenance is. If you're doing loads of cardio, your maintenance gets higher and higher and higher and higher as you get more efficient at doing the exercise, as you get better at becoming a better butter burner. If you divide 3,000 calories by 7, because there's 7 days in a week, that means you're allowed an extra 400 calories a week, okay? An extra 400 calories a day for a whole week. So your maintenance used to be about 2,000 calories. Now that you're running 10 miles 3 times a week, you can now maintain your weight at about 2,400 calories. So that's an extra 400 calories a day that you're allowed to eat. And you can use it however you guys like. Or you can just take the extra progress and keep on losing weight faster. That's up to you. So what about when you combine weights with progressive overload on the cardio? You started to incorporate year-round cardio, so now you're allowed an extra 400 calories of food allowance if you run 10 miles every other day. Now, if you add progressive overload on top of that with the weight training, you're going to see a fast transformation, boys. If you only do year-round cardio, you need to kind of rely on doing cardio in order to keep on eating the same amount of calories. So if you don't do the cardio, you're going to have to eat less. So you basically have to rely on the fact that you're going to keep on doing cardio in order to keep on eating the same amount of food, if that makes sense. However, muscle is completely different, right? You've got to see muscle as a stock investment, and it's once you've built enough stock investments, it's passive income, right? So just like a business, when you first start running a business, it's very difficult. You have to do a shit ton of work. You haven't quite got enough money to start employing staff to do work for you. You've got to do everything yourself. That's the beginning part of when you start lifting weights. It's going to be hard at the beginning, but once you add all of that muscle to your frame, significantly easier to maintain your physique in comparison to what it took for you to build the physique in the first place. So I'm not sure if you guys knew this, but if you added an extra kilo of muscle, that burns 13 calories extra a day. So if you added 5 kilos of muscle to your frame, which will probably take you about a year, if you're a natural lifter, it'll probably take you about a year, depending on how good your genetics are, and that's 65 calories extra a day. So 65 calories extra a day, and that's going to happen every single day of the year. So 65 times 365 is 23,725 calories a year you're going to burn just from having 5 kilos of extra muscle on your frame. So there's 3,500 calories in a pound of fat. So if you eat 3,500 calorie deficit, you will lose a pound of fat. That's over 3 kilos of fat gone every single year if you just add 5 kilos of muscle to your frame. And remember, that's going to take you a whole year to do, depending on how good your genetics are. If you put on 5 kilos in a year, after that, you're going to lose 3 kilos of fat every single year, okay? And then more muscle also equals more NEAT, which is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. The more muscle you have on your frame, the more you move around, the more twitchy you are all the time. Your non-exercise activity thermogenesis is basically calories you burn when you're not exercising. So say, for example, you're driving in your car. You might burn extra calories because you might bop your head a bit compared to if you just drove your car like this. The more muscle you have, the more twitchy you are. So that means you're going to be burning more calories without trying. What types of cardio are the best ones in order to progressive overload, in order to become a better butter burner? Running is a good one. Like I say, you just progressive overload it. Same with cycling. You would just start off with 1 mile, and then you do 1.5 miles, and then you do 2 miles. And then there's 52 weeks in a year. So if you added half a mile onto your run every single week, after a year, you're going to be running a marathon. And adding an extra 0.5 to your run is not too difficult. And remember, 52 weeks in a year, you times that by 0.5. By the end of the year, you'll be running 26 miles, which is basically a marathon. You can't out-train a bad diet as well, boys, unless you're that guy that I showed you earlier, that marathon runner, Eliud Kipchoge or whatever his name is. You can't out-train a bad diet. So the diet is still the most important thing. Still 80% of the needle-moving tasks comes from the diet. The cardio and the weightlifting help 20%. The nutrition is about 80% of your physique. So we do not want to shrek our ghrelin hormones. And the ghrelin hormone is your hunger hormone, right? The more stress that we put on the body, the more hungry we get. Also, you can burn significantly more calories from doing light intensity cardio rather than high intensity cardio, because we can do more of it. Remember, high intensity cardio, you won't be able to do it for as long. It's going to tire you out more, which is going to give you more stress on the body. And as a result of that, it's going to make your ghrelin hormone, your hunger hormone, increase. So yeah, you might be able to do a lot of work. You might be able to burn 150 calories in 10 minutes by going really hard on your salt bar. You can only do 10 minutes of it, and it's going to put so much stress on your body that you're not going to be very recovered. And as a result, you're going to really, really crave food, which is going to make diet adherence so much harder. And remember, 80% of your physique comes from your diet. The rest of it is your training, cardio and weight training. So if you are doing light intensity cardio instead, you can walk at a moderate pace on a 15% incline, for example. You're going to burn double the calories as if you were walking on a flat. And what I do is I walk on a 15% incline, which is the highest I can get it to. And I walk at a very light pace, a pace that I can have a conversation with. If I was to have a coaching call with someone, I shouldn't be getting all out of breath on the call. That's how I know I'm going too hard. That's closer to medium intensity cardio. We want to keep it light intensity so our hunger rate doesn't get raised, and the fact that we can do it for a long time without noticing too much tiredness, and we're going to burn calories super quick by doing the incline treadmill. If you guys don't like the incline treadmill, then go for the stepper instead. I personally hate the stepper. The incline treadmill works really well for me. I can burn 100 calories every 10 minutes by doing that. So if I did it for 60 minutes, like an hour, then I'd probably burn somewhere between 500 and 600 calories. And I'm a small guy, so somebody bigger than me would probably burn closer to 600 calories. Because remember, high intensity interval training is red zone. You're in the red zone. You can only actually physically recover from doing that twice a week maximum. If you do it 3 times a week, you're not actually doing high intensity cardio, you're doing medium intensity cardio. So by definition, you can only do it twice a week anyway. You can only do it for about 10 to 15 minutes as well, boys. If you can only do 10 to 15 minutes of high intensity cardio, you're only burning 300 to 500 calories a week. If you did incline treadmills 7 days a week, which is not going to fuck you up, you're going to still feel good, then you can burn 300 calories a day. You times that by 7, that's 2100 calories. If you were to do 600 calories a day on the incline treadmill, which is just under an hour of training, then that would be 7 times 6, 4,800 calories. That's nearly 5,000 calorie allowance you're allowed to get away with per week. And just remember, high intensity cardio, all of that stress on the body makes it way more likely for you to fall off the diet. It makes diet adherence 20 times harder. And I had to work my way up to this, boys. I did not just start like this. I had to work my way up. I had to become a better butter burner, and that takes time. That takes progressive overload in your cardio. So I do 10k steps every single day, and that's a non-negotiable for me. I do my incline treadmill on 15% for about 30 to 45 minutes 3 times a week. I do 2 to 3 hours of martial arts classes 4 to 5 times a week. So that's my medium intensity cardio. I do sparring 1 hour for 1 hour a week 3 times a week. And I'd consider that high intensity cardio. Learning how to punch somebody in the face and not getting punched in the face makes it very tiring. You're going to be tired quick. So you can only really do hard sparring once or twice a week at high intensity. Otherwise, it's not hard sparring. You're just doing light sparring. I do MMA class teaching twice a week, which I still consider cardio because I'm still going around. I'm still helping people train. I'm still showing people examples and stuff. I'm still burning calories. I do personally, people teach me private one-to-one lessons. So I do 1 Muay Thai lesson a week, which is 1 hour, and I do 1 boxing lesson a week, which is 2 hours. I also do badminton with my girlfriend for 30 minutes once a week. The only reason I do it is because I compete in a sport and I actually need that type of cardio in order to perform well in my sport. But if I was just trying to have the best physique possible, I'd just fuck this off. I wouldn't even do it because it makes your dieting a lot harder to do, guys. I also average about 10 to 15 hours a week teaching MMA one-to-one lessons. So it could be MMA one-to-one session I'm teaching, it could be a Muay Thai session, it could be boxing, it could be jiu-jitsu or wrestling. So in those sessions, I still move around, and that's 10 to 15 hours a week. That's my full-time job, by the way. That's what I do full-time. My daily maintenance is somewhere between 3,000 to 4,000 calories from doing all of these things, because I've been following this lifestyle for the last 6 months now, and I track my calories every single day. So I know whether my weight goes up or down, whether I'm eating at maintenance or not. So I really do not have to try. I get away with pretty much anything. I have fast food about 3 to 4 times a week. I've got a girlfriend, so she loves fast food as well. And I end up eating fast food 3 to 4 times a week. And I have maintained this body fat percentage for quite a while now. And I really do not have to try. And that's because I've gained so much muscle, and it's because my cardio routine has got to the point now where I'm one of the best butter burners there is. Not many people burn more calories a week, a day, a month compared to me. What I suggest for you guys then is I want you guys to get a 10 to 15k step goal. Okay, that's very light intensity cardio. It shouldn't take too much effort for you guys to do that. The only problem with doing light intensity cardio is how much time it takes. I also want you guys to be weight or resistance training 3 times a week, each body part once per week minimum. If you guys can do each body part twice a week, you're going to gain muscle twice as quick. If you do it 3 times a week, that means you're going to be interfering with your recovery. So minimum 3 times a week, maximum 6 times a week. So you either hit each body part once per week, or you hit each body part twice per week. And I want you guys to train weight training before cardio, preferably first thing in the morning like I do. The reason why we want to do this is if you do 30 minutes on the incline treadmill before you do leg press, do you think that you're going to be able to leg press the same amount of weight? Probably not. Or it's going to make things a lot harder for you to do. However, if you've done the leg press beforehand, had a little bit of a rest, and then did your cardio, you're still going to be able to do your cardio because it's light intensity cardio. It's not something that requires a lot of effort like weightlifting. And I want you guys to start investing today. Start investing in your muscle mass. Start making your muscle mass go up now. And then in years to come, it's so much easier to maintain a lean physique like I showed you on that picture of me earlier. If you guys are going to do weight training before cardio, maybe it'll be a good idea for you to get on the incline treadmill straight after that. If you don't have time, because you're going to do it in the morning, then go in the evening instead. So I want you guys to do 15% on the incline, a 15% incline treadmill, 3 to 7 times a week. If you guys can do 7 days a week, you're going to see fat melt off your frame. Trust me. It is one of the best machines for melting fat off your frame. Do that for about 30 to 45 minutes. And if you guys have already tried doing this and you hate it, find a way to make it fun. For me personally, I watched the whole of Peaky Blinders on the incline treadmill. So I made it a rule for myself where I am not going to watch an episode of Peaky Blinders unless I'm on the treadmill. And those of you guys that don't know, every episode of Peaky Blinders is 1 hour long. So I wasn't doing 45 minutes, I was doing 60 minutes on the incline treadmill. And I looked forward to doing it every single day because I loved Peaky Blinders. I hate the incline treadmill, but I love Peaky Blinders. So I looked forward to doing cardio every day. And one day I actually did 2 hours of cardio on the same day. I watched 2 episodes of Peaky Blinders because it was that good and addictive to watch. So those of you guys that have never watched it before, give that a watch. Maybe you could watch it on the incline treadmill. And maybe you'll finish Peaky Blinders. And by the time you finish Peaky Blinders, you'll be 5-6% less body fat than when you first started, just like what happened to me. I started off at about 18% body fat. When I completed all 5 seasons of Peaky Blinders, I was significantly leaner. If you guys want to, this is optional, you want to pick some sort of sport that you guys can do in the evening. So football practice, maybe it could be 5-a-side football, do dance practice if you guys are a bit queer. You could do martial arts practice like me. So I do mixed martial arts practice. And the whole reason why we do this is because it's cardio and you don't see the time at all. So time flies by. By the time you finished your pad session or whatever class you guys decide to do in the evening, you burnt 400, 500 calories and you haven't even had to think about it. The problem with doing the incline treadmill, although it is very good for burning fat, it's fucking boring, right? You're always looking at the time all the time. So if you guys had some sort of sport that you can do in the evening, maybe once, twice, maybe 3 times a week, if you guys can, the more the better, then you guys are going to burn a shit ton of calories. And pick a sport that you guys actually like. Don't pick the sport that burns the most calories. Pick one that you can actually stick to. So if you guys like dancing, do dancing. If you guys like football, do football. If you guys like jiu-jitsu, wrestling, MMA, do what I do and do mixed martial arts. I would suggest doing mixed martial arts, but I'm biased. If you don't want to do that and you guys don't like sports, then just double up on the light intensity cardio until you've reached your desired body fat percentage. Just keep on doubling up on the incline treadmill. Maybe you do your weight session in the morning, and then after you've done your weight session, you do 30 minutes on the treadmill. Maybe you come back to the gym later on and you do another 30 to 45 minutes on the incline treadmill. Remember, it's light intensity cardio, so you're not going to feel achy for doing this. It's just how much time do you have and how much time are you willing to commit to achieving your goals. And then once you've got to your body fat percentage that you want to get to, you can just slowly taper down on the cardio, or you can just eat more food. Okay, you're going to be burning more calories. Better butter burner you are, the more calories you burn, which means you can eat more food. So if you want to keep your body fat the way it is, you either take away some of the cardio or you increase your food intake. For me personally, I would rather not be lazy and do more work and then eat more. I would not want to be lazy, not do the cardio and eat less, because your life's way less fulfilling when you do that. And plus, cardio is good for you. The most important muscle in the body is the heart, so make sure you train that as well, not just the biceps, boys. So thank you very much for watching, guys. And if you guys are still struggling with this type of stuff and you want to become lean and aesthetic and you want to be able to keep that physique for the rest of your life, just like I have for the last 5 years, then book a call with me below and we'll see if it makes sense for us to work together. If not, like, comment, share and subscribe. And there's plenty more videos where this came from, so keep on looking at my other videos. Maybe there'll be something else there for you guys that you can find some value. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.